Does your partner overreact? Maybe the smallest thing sets them off, or maybe it's you too, and then you're in a blowout again, or maybe just totally shut down. These reactions can leave you feeling frustrated and disconnected and wondering why this keeps happening. Today, we're diving into why these intense reactions occur, and more importantly, we're going to shift the way that you view them and respond to them so that you can have a more calm and connected relationship. I'm Lindsay. This is Loving with Intention, and we are going to just dive right into this episode. So today I want to share something that happened in the summer when I was at the lake, and it is still on my heart, and that's how I know that it is an important message to share. But before I share this story, I just want to take one moment to look at the word overreactions. I want to shift the language around this because this term can carry a lot of judgment. And really, these reactions that we see are more about emotional responses that seem disproportionate to the events that trigger them. So just reframing the word overreactions to reactions is so much more helpful. These are reactions. This could be more of a fighty reaction like criticism or getting loud or defensive, or it could be, like I said, shutting down. So something seemingly small happens and you or your partner totally shut down or totally react. We're just calling these reactions. So the story. This summer, I was at the lake by myself and I was just sitting on a rock reading a book. And I saw one boy and two girls who looked like they were about 12 years old. They came and they were playing by the water at the lake. And the boy had a toy that seemed like it was new and he was really excited about it. He was showing it off to his friends. He looked like he was having the best time, but the girls were kind of talking amongst themselves. They were kind of talking down to him. And eventually one of them said, "Give me that." And he tried to hold onto his toy and he said, "I'm not done with it yet. I just want to use it for a bit longer." But she grabbed it anyways and started using it. And you could see his face drop and he was hurt. And he got upset and he said, "I wasn't done with that." And she just threw the toy right out of his reach in the water and said, "Whatever, you have it then." And then she walked away with her friend. I know this happens all the time with kids. They get their feelings hurt. They hurt each other's feelings. They don't communicate in the healthiest ways at all times, just like every human. So I so feel for everyone in this situation because there are reasons behind everyone's reactions here. And I watched the boy stand there and pick up his toy and then follow behind them. He was literally walking behind them saying, "No one likes me. Same as always. I have no friends. I'm alone. No one cares." And you can probably feel my emotion. It still gets me right in the heart, and it broke my heart in that moment. My eyes just filled with tears. I wanted to go and comfort him, but I didn't want to be some weirdo lady coming out of the blue comforting this boy. It probably wouldn't have been very comforting, but it broke my heart just to hear his thoughts out loud, what he was saying to himself. And it really made me think about not only him and the work that I do. So when I work with couples and individuals, and also from what I know within myself, these are the tender parts of us that still show up in our adult relationships. So that little boy telling himself, "I'm alone, no one likes me," those are the same stories that play out years later in our heads and in our hearts on a subconscious loop in our adult relationships. So often when our reactions look bigger or more intense than what the situation itself may be called for, it is because something deeper is being triggered, something from the past that hasn't been healed. So I just want to give you a hypothetical example of how this might play out for the little boy as an adult. And of course, for this boy, I am not saying that this will be his reality. I hope that this is not his reality. And this is what this could potentially look like in my experience of working with so many couples, so many individuals, and doing my own healing work for the past 20 years. So just imagining this boy is now grown, he is married, he has a wife, and one day he buys a new iPhone. And they're both really happy. He's excited to show it to his wife. And while he's showing her, he's like showing her the new camera and it's got all these new details, but he's kind of fumbling with how to get the camera working, like all the different settings. His wife, wanting to help, gets it, just grabs it out of his hand and says, "Oh, here, you just do it like this." And he snaps back, "I've got it. It's fine." Surprised and caught off guard, his wife just tosses it back to him and says, "Calm down. You figure it out then." And then the fight blows up. He yells at her, "You are so disrespectful. Do not just grab my stuff. I would never do that to you." And his wife says, "You're being ridiculous. It is not that big of a deal. You always overreact." The fight continues until one of them walks away. And then she goes, calls one of her friends, and tells her friend that my husband is such a jerk. All I was doing was trying to help. Once again, he's ruined a good time. And then the boy, who's now a man, is sitting alone, just fuming. And then he just decides to bury it. They don't talk for the rest of the day. And eventually things just sort of return to normal, but not really normal because they're not feeling connected. It's all of those hurts are just buried under the surface, just waiting to come up again, layered with all of the hurts that occur in all of our relationships. Does this sound familiar? How often does something seemingly so small blow up into something major? What's really happening in this moment for this imaginary couple, it isn't about the iPhone. It is about what's underneath. Those old stories like no one respects me, I have no friends, or I'm alone are being triggered. And those feelings are still there, just lingering under the surface, waiting for the right moment to come out. It's like having a bruise on your leg that isn't fully healed. Most of the time, you don't even notice that it's there. It's on your thigh, it's under your pants, you can't see it. It doesn't bother you until something pushes on it. So maybe you like touch it or you lean against a table, and even the slightest touch is like this jolt of discomfort of like, oh yeah, that's there. I remember that. That doesn't feel good. That's what happens with these emotional wounds that we have. When his wife grabbed the iPhone, it's like bumping the old bruise. Suddenly, all the feelings tied to those past hurts, feeling disrespected, dismissed, alone, come rushing back as though they just happened. Our nervous system remembers, and when it gets triggered, we react like we are right back in those moments from the past, even though the present situation is completely different. And this happens in a split second, and we don't even know that it's happening most of the time. Usually, we're just seeing the surface stuff. We're just seeing our own reactions. We're seeing our partner's reaction, and we end up just feeling more and more disconnected, and usually in more and more blame of the other person's reactions. So do we have to deep dive every trauma, every hard situation, every trigger in order to heal? Not always. Sometimes it's enough to just notice it, reflect on it, observe the feelings that come up when those reactions happen. When we start paying attention to these moments, we can start to see the tender parts of ourselves and our partner that need love. We can meet our reactions with so much more compassion that way, and that alone can shift how we begin to respond to them. So if we think of it like your relationship is a garden, every time one of you gets triggered or there's a disagreement or somebody has a reaction, just picture like a weed popping up. If we only focus on chopping off the weed at the surface, it's going to come back. But if we take a moment to get really curious, look beneath the dirt, wonder and look under, we can find the root cause of the weed and eventually maybe pull it out for good. Often just acknowledging what's below the surface is enough to start the healing process. Of course, I always say these disclaimers. It doesn't mean that your reaction is justified, that when you get triggered and you react or shut down, that it's okay. Just because we know there's something under the surface, it doesn't make it okay. Those things still hurt, and repair is one of the most important things in our relationships. So bringing it back to this sweet little boy, when I heard him saying these things to himself, it reminded me of my clients and all of us. We all have our little selves inside of us that just need so much love. Again, this awareness helps us see the tender parts of ourselves and meet our reactions with so much love. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard clients say to me, I don't even want to tell you what I'm upset about or what we're fighting about. It's so stupid. And my response is, it's never stupid. It is never stupid. When we break it down, we find that there is so much under the surface. Whether you are in a blow-up fight about the socks on the floor or how the dishwasher was loaded or that the dishes weren't done at the end of the day, it's never about any of those things. It's about what's under the surface. And there are fears and worries and stories like, I'm alone, you don't respect me, that come up in those moments that are just there that we don't even notice are happening until we get intentional so that we do notice they're happening. So I know the question is, okay, so what can we really do about this? Awareness is absolutely the first step. So you listening to this podcast is freaking amazing. And even if your partner isn't listening or watching on YouTube, that's okay. You can start to shift things yourself. And the real magic starts to happen when you start to respond differently in those moments. And it's never about fixing everything right away on our growth journeys. Like I said, I've been in therapy for 20 years. I intend to go until the end of time because we do get to keep healing and growing in our lives. So it's really about the small shifts to start moving in the right direction, in a new direction in your relationship. So if this is resonating with you, I want to invite you to check out my free webinar, Break Free from Fighting, 3 Keys to a Happier Relationship. It will be in the show notes. It is designed to help you understand why fights happen, and most importantly, how to start changing things right away with actionable steps. And your intentional action for the week to start right away is when you notice yourself or your partner getting triggered, try to create a little bit of space before reacting. It could be a deep breath, a quick walk, or simply saying, let's pause for a second. These small moments of pause can create huge changes in how things unfold. In the pause, take care of you and get curious. So often in that pause, we might think, I can't believe they're reacting like that, or that was not a big deal, they're overreacting. And instead, if we bring in that curiosity and think, I wonder what's under there, this is how we can shift things. You have got this. You're amazing. I'm sending so much love into your day. And remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's have an intentional week. Bye.